Hello, beautiful souls, stargazers, and seekers. Welcome back to the channel. This is Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. Today, we are going to talk about the concepts of knowledge and wisdom in association with the third and ninth houses of astrology. So, I have a short PowerPoint presentation just to go through some bullet points around knowledge, around wisdom. What are these concepts? We're going to define them very clearly. Then we are going to talk about the third and the ninth house, and then we'll use my chart as an example, as we've done with the previous two videos in this series. So this is video number 3 of 6. It's hot off the press. It's for members first, so you guys get to watch this video and marinate in it for about a week before I let the general public see it, and I'd love your opinions and comments. Also, please give the video a thumbs up and also hit that hype button. The more hype we get, it's kind of bragging points. I don't get anything more for it, but I do certainly appreciate it. So I don't have any announcements for you. I'm just so excited to teach you these concepts. So I will share my screen and we will get into this. All right, friends, here we are. I entitled this teaching The Sacred Compass, because when we think about the concepts of knowledge and wisdom and the houses of astrology, the third and the ninth house in particular, we find that there's a pathway for acquiring knowledge and attaining wisdom if we just dive a little deeply into our natal charts and the meaning of these houses. So let's look at our sacred compass. At the end of this teaching, we will be able to define the concept of knowledge, define wisdom. I know we all have our own internal definitions of what these are, but we're going to examine them from an esoteric viewpoint. We're going to look at both of these things, both wisdom and knowledge, in the context of the third and the ninth astrological houses. And we will locate and read the third and ninth house rulers in an example chart, which is my natal chart. So again, I just want to acknowledge the channel members, stargazers. We are 38 strong. Thank you so much for your support and encouragement. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you to all of you personally from the bottom of my heart for your support on the work I do. Thank you, beautiful souls. All right, let's just settle into this teaching and think about this quote. This is from Swami Chinmayananda. Without devotion, knowledge is tasteless. Without knowledge, devotion is mere empty idol worship. So we're going along the same theme that we have with the previous two teachings on the houses, that this is not just one singular house. This is a house in context with the other side of the chart, a reflection energy, a place where you can seek some wisdom just by looking at your chart. So let's look at knowledge. What is knowledge? Well, we think we know the definition of it, right? Knowledge is the gathering of understanding through direct experience. It is awareness shaped by observation, repetition, and practice. Knowledge grows through curiosity, questioning, and contact with the world around you. It's not belief like the ninth house or like Jupiter or like Sagittarius. It is participation, connecting with souls around you, friends, groups of people, the everyday things that you do. We discover knowledge through doing, touching, and testing what is real. Why knowledge? Why do we want to study this? Why does knowledge even exist? Knowledge exists so that consciousness can know itself through experience. Awareness requires contrast, and knowledge provides the boundaries of understanding. Through learning, the soul explores form, limitation, and discovery. This is where we get our patterns from. Energy of the third house. Through knowledge, we learn something and we repeat it over and over. Knowledge anchors spirit into matter, giving meaning to its existence. This is where our programs create identities and labels for us. So when we see repeating patterns, we can give it a name and give it a meaning. So it's a process. It's the unfolding of consciousness into comprehension. A new idea comes in, we watch the patterns around it, we give it names, we explain it. And that's basically how knowledge is built and how knowledge works. So knowledge begins with curiosity. So within you, where do you get your knowledge? Well, you're curious about something and you ask the question, like, I see this process unfolding before me. How does it work? And so you see the patterns, you see the repetition, you observe it, and you participate in it, and you learn from it. And each experience becomes a mirror that refines that perception of what you're knowing. Knowledge then deepens when we question what we think we know. Because a lot of the things that we've been taught that is perceived as knowledge and truth, it isn't. We all go through this. It evolves through integration when learning becomes understanding. So when we think about the third house, and now that we understand knowledge very deeply, the why, the what, and the how, the third house in your astrological chart is the field where knowledge takes form through experience. So where whatever planets you have in that, whatever constellation is in that, that's going to inform how you learn, communicate, how you ask questions, how you acquire skills. So this house rules the courage to explore the immediate world around you. It's also where you will get your subconscious programming, appropriate or inappropriate. It is the place where basic patterns of existence are also encoded in your reality. So repetition, practice, and hands-on discovery. The third house also reveals how we gather, process, and apply the understanding in daily life. So this is where we learn our patterns. It's so interesting to know where you learn them so that if you want to break some of them, this is where you go. Now, it's very important if you want to do the sacred compass analysis in your own chart is to first know where to look for it, and then also to note the constellation or sign, because if you do tropical, you can also do this, that resides in that house. Okay, so and you look to that, like let's say, for example, you have third house with Taurus as the constellation. So third house Taurus. Then you would ask, what is the ruler of Taurus? We would say Venus. And you would then say, the ruler of my third house is Venus. That's how you would say that. So then you want to locate that Venus, wherever she may be, by position, sign, house, and aspect, and inquire into the nature of that placement, because it will reveal to you the easiest way for you to learn, communicate, and apply skill. And so we're going to go through that exercise just like we did with the first and seventh house, just like we did with the 12th and sixth house. So the third house ruler will describe your path of curiosity and the mind's method of discovery. And let's get into wisdom. Let's see what happens when this knowledge either becomes lost, gained, or integrated. Wisdom is knowledge that has been lived and tested and integrated, right? It is the maturity of understanding that arises from the experiences that you have. New experiences, experiences outside of the box, experiences outside of your comfort zone. That gives you the maturity of understanding. Wisdom will perceive patterns where knowledge sees pieces. So this is where if you notice yourself seeing synchronicities, seeing patterns in your field, that means you're attaining some level of wisdom. Pareidolia, the ability to see patterns where none may be perceived, is a gift. It's the gift where you can attain wisdom more quickly. It expands the perception from personal truth to universal meaning, where you can apply this universal meaning even to your own truth. So wisdom isn't learned. It is revealed through understanding and through experience. The purpose of wisdom is to guide knowledge toward harmony and purpose. So you're here for a reason, and that wisdom can guide you. It allows consciousness to recognize unity beneath diversity. Through wisdom, the soul remembers what knowledge forgets. Wisdom you never forget. Wisdom is like just something you know, where knowledge can come in and out, bits and fragments. It is the bridge between the intellect and the intuition, between thought and truth. Wisdom completes the circle of learning by returning awareness to essence. So how does it actually work? How do we get wisdom? Well, wisdom will refine the knowledge that you have through reflection and synthesis. And I think the point here is that it's not in the doing anymore. It's not getting out there and touching and experimenting. It's taking those experiences and sitting with them. So, for example, when we're talking about wisdom and ninth house and Sagittarius and Jupiter, We're talking about expanding your horizons, going outside of your comfort zone, breaking your pattern, doing something that is different. So it's taking the patterns of that third house and breaking them and then integrating them into your greater overall pattern to create your own truths. I think this requires a lot of like God mode time, where you're sitting in silence and sitting in quiet contemplation, letting the thoughts come and go, and then watching any connections that form through your conscious observation of your knowledge. So it's a listening energy. It doesn't speak, it perceives beyond opinion, and it emerges when experience becomes understanding and understanding becomes compassion. So wisdom works through stillness where meaning is felt rather than reasoned. So you can't really like reason your way through a wisdom drop. You have to just sort of let it in and look at the whole thing. And it requires stillness and observation to do that. So when we think about wisdom, we can apply this to the ninth house of our astrology charts because it is the field where wisdom takes form as belief, philosophies, and truth. It represents the expansion. This is Jupiter energy, Sagittarius energy, faith, higher learning, and the search for meaning. This house is the ruler of teachers, long distance journeys, and quests for coherence, quests for understanding. It is where understanding becomes perspective and experience becomes the teaching. So the ninth house reveals how we make sense of life and align with our greater purpose. This is so mind blowing when you put the third house and the ninth house together in the analysis of a chart. I can't even make this stuff up. I'm excited to show you this next. So the ruler of the ninth house, this is the same process. The ruler of your ninth house, you find that out by looking at the constellation that sits on the cusp of your ninth house. And that will be the planet of your ninth that rules your ninth house. And you go and you find it in your chart, and then you describe it by position, sign, and aspect. And so the story that you get from the ruler of your ninth house will reveal to you how you teach, how you share truth, and how you seek guidance. So the ninth house ruler is going to describe your philosophy of life and your path to understanding. Okay, so now that we have sort of a deeper understanding of the axis of the third and the ninth house, they are 180 degrees apart from each other. We also understand that they are connected through the process of knowledge becoming wisdom, where we move from experience to reflection, where we reprogram some of our basic underlying inappropriate programming to understand new things, right? So knowledge is the measure and wisdom is the meaning behind it. So let's get into some practical steps, and we're going to apply this to my chart. So you want to just pull up your natal chart, however you want to do it, whether you're tropical, sidereal, constellational, astronomical. Pull it up, put it in the calculator, find your third and your ninth houses in your natal chart, and then ask yourself, is sun, moon, or your chart ruler in this space? If your sun, moon, or your chart ruler is in your third house, that's kind of a big deal. Any planet in there can be used for this analysis, but if you have those three, that's pretty big. Okay. Now, how do you find your chart ruler? Well, if you go back to our last video, the first and the seventh houses, I show you how to do that. But basically, the ruler of your first house sign is your chart ruler. So I have Taurus rising, I have Taurus in my first house, which means that Venus rules my entire chart. So if I were to look at my chart and I see Venus in the third house, that's a big deal. Or if I see Sun in the third house or Moon. And so that's how you basically do this so that you can get ready for this analysis. And I want to, as in every video, just review with you the planetary rulers. If you're just jumping in and you want to check out the other videos, there's a playlist that will be available, that is available. So I link to the playlist below so you can go back and get the cosmic endgame, which is 6th and 12th house, karma and enlightenment. You can go to the self you don't see, 1st and 7th house, projection and reflection. So the sacred compass is this teaching, and it's the 3rd and the 9th house, knowledge and wisdom. So here are the chart rulers in written form so that you can see what some people are using, what most people are using. And what I usually, in this analysis, I'll typically use either the modern or the traditional chart rulers. I don't let's see which one is on here that's weird. So Capricorn having Pluto as a modern co-ruler. Okay, maybe, but I like Saturn for Capricorn. They just really kind of go together. And I love Uranus for Aquarius because heading into the age of Aquarius. So why not explore Aquarius in your chart and see what that means, Aquarius and Uranus in your chart. Here it is graphically so that you can also see what's possible. So here I've put, this is my chart too, by the way. So I've put all of the constellational rulers in their respective positions. Sun rules Leo, Moon rules Cancer, Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. Sometimes Venus can rule Virgo. I actually really love Venus ruling Virgo. Venus rules Taurus and Libra, but I prefer Mercury in Libra. That's just my opinion. Mars is with Aries and traditionally with Scorpio, since they don't include Ophiuchus. If you like to keep Mars as the ruler of Ophiuchus, I'm cool with that. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio, and Chiron is the modern ruler of Ophiuchus, sometimes Jupiter, these last few degrees. Jupiter's ruling Pisces and Sagittarius. Neptune has Pisces in the modern sense. So I like to think about that too. And then Saturn, of course, rules the crown, but Uranus is the OG, and Aquarius is sort of the enlightened state we're all trying to evolve towards. So those are your rulers. Let's go ahead and analyze my natal chart for the axis of wisdom and knowledge, my sacred compass. So here's my chart. And you can see here that I'm going to get my pen out and doodle with you all. You can see here my third house and my ninth house. Now, my third house, the ruler of this house, it's a little tricky. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways you can think about it. Traditionally, it's the cusp moving counterclockwise. So the first sign that my third house border hits is Cancer. So in some teachings, it says, all right, Cancer is the ruler of your third house. However, if we look at the space of occupation, it appears that Leo is got more dominance in terms of how much space it takes up. So I am doing a deeper analysis on the sun, but I'm using both of these, and I'm going to give you what I came up with. Okay. Are you ready for this? This is so crazy. So I'm giving both moon and sun my third house rulership. My sun is actually in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So there's a lot of moon sun energy. I was born a few hours after a full moon. So I am reading both of them to you in terms of the third house. Remember, this is how I ask questions. This is where my curiosity lies. This is how I teach. This is how I learn. This is how I experience. So it's my learning begins emotionally. That's it. If I'm using the Cancer cusp, letting moon rule this energy, then it's intuitive learning, it's empathic learning. So I will absorb knowledge through feeling and attunement. I literally have the ability to learn people and environments rather than simply collecting facts. I'm very good at that too. But because I feel into the crowd, because I feel into people, I see you and I know you through feeling. I see and I know things through feeling. And many times that intuition is spot on. Cancer is a very empathetic and intuitive sign. And so I definitely feel things before I quote unquote know them. So what's so interesting though is that if we think about this Leo dominating my third house, right? And the sun being the ruler of Leo means that the sun is in the third house. So if I'm using the moon as the ruler, the moon's in my ninth house, which we'll talk about in a minute with wisdom. But the ruler of Leo, the sun is in the third house in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So there's this moon sun energy here that I cannot separate in this analysis. So I'm giving you a complicated example, but I wanted to continue using my chart through the entire house analysis. So here, knowledge is not only felt, but shared, right? So Leos love to give from their heart. It's just a heart and creativity. And so I express what I learn in ways that inspire and illuminate, right? I feel like that definitely resonates for me. It's like a co-ruler or a dispositor of expression, showing that I my learning process radiates outward through personal voice, confidence, and story. So I have a flow here from emotional receptivity with the moon ruling Cancer to creative expression. I am the student who learns by feeling and teaches by shining. Having the moon as the ruler of this space is very interesting because moon is in Capricorn. So now we're touching on my philosophy about learning, about experiencing. It means that there's a discipline here, there's a responsibility here, there's a timing. This suggests that I will have a lot of knowledge and creativity, but the wisdom may come later in life. Capricorn is usually about legacy and building something that you leave behind. Okay, so I might be famous when I'm really old, or maybe after I die. But I'm this position suggests that the what I learn and what I teach will leave a legacy, and I absolutely love that. So my path with this knowledge acquisition is to let the heart inform the mind while allowing structure to hold the soul's vision. So I'm not supposed to choose between intuition and reason, even though there suggests there's a balance here. I am the bridge. That's my gift. That's my special ability to bridge intuition and reasoning. So they collaborate, sun and moon, rather than compete. And I can speak comforting and clarifying words, maternal and masterful words. So this is my sacred compass. Basically, my moon sun aspect is showing me that I am a seeker and a sage, a student and a teacher, and my knowledge feels and my wisdom builds, and together they make my voice a lighthouse for integration. So that's how you could read that, and I really resonate with that. My life's passion is to learn and to teach. I'm such a curious person. If I don't have something that I'm focusing on learning myself in order to teach, I'm a lost soul. Like, I'm bored. I got to do it. So this is so interesting for me, and a bit of a revelation for me. Now let's look at it from my ninth house perspective. So when we go clockwise, the cusp of my ninth house is squarely in Capricorn. And within Capricorn is my moon, and it's ruled by Saturn, who is conjunct Venus. And Saturn's in Gemini in the second house. So Saturn will have a lot to say about how I gain wisdom. Okay. Saturn in Gemini in the second house is the voice of authority. So this means that my words build value. I teach others how to make wisdom practical. I speak what is true and manifest what is learned. This is what I do. I bring things into fruition by imagining them through the learning process. So my second house is rooted in my philosophy. My philosophy is rooted in my tangible worth. My wisdom must feed my soul and sustain my body at the same time. So, disciplined communication, writing, speaking, teaching, or codifying knowledge into lasting form. That's literally what I'm doing. That's how I transmit and transmute and integrate all the knowledge that I have into some kind of wisdom. And being conjunct Venus, Saturn's kind of, strict and cold, but Venus gives it a warmth to it, a creative edge, a sexiness, and allure to it, a magnetizing energy. So I love that because, teaching is a performative art. And a lot of it is the first 30 seconds, of a video. If I'm not pleasing or pleasant to listen to or to look at, people may scroll away immediately. But because I have that, and because I begin to speak wisdom, I can keep and attract people's attention. That's literally what this does. So that is basically how you can do that. We've already sort of read the sun and moon, what that means, what that path of wisdom and knowledge. And it's basically writing and teaching and expressing that in a creative and loving way. And that's freaking literally what I do. So thank you for indulging me and letting me go through this exercise with you so that I have a little bit more awareness of myself And then you can also apply this to your chart. So if you want to dig a little bit deeper, and I'll do this for both I think I did moon. No, I did sun. Yeah, I think I did Sun and Saturn. So I will show you the advanced technique if you're like, okay, well, that's great information. And now it sort of makes sense to me, but maybe you want to go a little bit deeper. So how does the ruler of my third house get knowledge and get wisdom? How does my sun get knowledge and wisdom? How does Saturn get knowledge and wisdom? Because if Saturn's supposed to be my significator of wisdom, we want Saturn to do the right thing. So you can go deeper and look at that. And guys, we are all of these planets, by the way. You are not just your sun. You're not just your moon. You are just as much your Saturn and Venus as you are your sun and your moon. They hold more importance in terms of sort of getting the underlying energy of who you are, but you're all of these archetypes. So what we'll do is we'll take the sun first and we will analyze the third and the ninth houses. My natal fifth house becomes the sun's third house. So the sun is going to acquire knowledge and experience and programs and patterns through the expression of Pluto and Uranus through Virgo in my natal fifth house, which is trying to Black Moon Lilith, which is trying to transiting Pluto right now, trying to the moon. So there's a connection to the ninth house already for the way the sun attains its knowledge. So I will learn through creative precision. I will take complex systems and bring them to life through expression, taking the human body physiology and pathophysiology and explaining to a patient what that means for them in the next coming days. That's how you do it. Taking a complex astrological concept and breaking it down for you so that you can do a further analysis of your own natal energy or your own client's natal energy. Pluto gives me and many of us in this generation process of depth, compulsion, and the capacity to change things. And Uranus gives us genius level insight and nonlinear leaps of awareness. So, yeah, you might be a little bit schizophrenic, epiphanic, and have a bad case of pareidolia, but you're seeing it. You're seeing the connections and you know there's a better way. And the fifth house makes all of this personal and joyful. And the way I teach, it's an act of creation. I imagine it, I birth it, I do it, and I bring it to you. So it comes through my mind, through my heart, through my hands, through the electrons, and into your earbuds as you listen to these teachings. So my soul, my soul, sun, the knowledge is radiant and magnetic because it is alive. And my sun learns through transforming and creating. Now, the ninth house of my sun is actually my natal 11th house in Pisces. So the cusp of my 11th house lands squarely in Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, but Chiron's here. So I'm not gonna get into the Neptune energy, but you can keep going if you want to. But usually just one pass with the natal energies and then the second pass with the significators is plenty of depth. So we have the ninth house from the sun is that my wisdom comes through unity consciousness, okay? And my alignment arises in community through friendship and inspiring others. So the work that I'm doing when I light somebody up, when I'm talking to them one-on-one and they tell me that the reading reached them and their mind is blown, that is how my son gains wisdom. That means, okay, every time I improve what I'm doing and I get positive feedback, I keep going. I keep improving it. I keep making it better and better and better for people so that they can see that they are part of spirit. Now, Chiron is going to transform this process into a sacred calling. And indeed, that's what it is. Yearning to heal the whole is what drives me. I see so much collective wounding, and I know that if they could just see it the way that I see it, that maybe they'll be better off. So every time I lead or teach, I'm also healing because of the way that the sun is working. So the sun wants to teach, express itself creatively, and so when I do that through my own unique way and my own unique passion, then I am essentially gaining more and more wisdom. It's like a feedback loop. I transform through creativity and refinement. I heal through unity and compassion, and Pluto and Uranus awaken my mind to all that's possible. Chiron opens my heart, and the fire of the creative fifth house meets the healing waters of the 11th house. And I'm a bridge between genius and grace. Isn't that beautiful? So I love this. So the next thing we're going to do is look at Saturn And then that will be the end of this presentation. So again, if you're enjoying this, please give me a thumbs up, hype the video, subscribe, join the channel, and we can go deeper with within the community. So Saturn, as a significator of my wisdom, sits in Gemini in the second house. So if we look to the third house of Saturn, which is my natal fourth house, Mars sits there. Okay. Mars is hanging out there in the natal fourth house in Leo. So the way that Saturn gains knowledge has everything to do with my Mars in Leo. So Leo is going to bring courage, creativity. I learn through experimentation with the truth. So I get a nugget of truth and I'm like, let's just test that. Let's not be afraid. Let's play with it. Let's put it out there and figure out what it means. So learning is experiential for me, even combative at times, because I ask why so much. My teachers either loved me or hated me because I would make them question what they're saying. Like, do you really believe what you're saying? Because if you do, then this means this, this, and this. Do you understand that? I was a handful for real. So it's so interesting to see that. So Saturn will gain knowledge by testing limits, asserting boundaries, and building inner strength through action. Sometimes I've also found that uh, through example, like screwing up, it's always like, why are they picking on me? But me being the example teaches other people through my creative expression. So I screw up, I fumble, people see it, I get in trouble, and then they learn, they have wisdom. I've learned to modify that so that I get to be the leader of that. I tend to not let those sort of situations happen anymore. But it brings a karmic inheritance with the fourth house too. So examining ancestral patterns, it builds my inner foundation. I also see other people. I learn through their experiences. I watch what they do, and if something happens to them that's unpalatable to me, I gain wisdom through that as well. Now, Saturn will also be gaining wisdom through my 10th house. So again, this pops up. The Jupiter energy. There's a trine between Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter in Aquarius. And so the wisdom will come by building for the collective. It's the summit of visibility, vocation, and destiny. And this is where my teachings are going to crystallize into, excuse me, some sort of social impact. And Jupiter's presence here blesses this journey with optimism, grace, and expansion, turning what could have been duty into a joyful service. Saturn's wisdom matures through collaboration, mentorship, and leadership that empowers others to think freely and build consciously. And so the wisdom for Saturn is realized when mastery becomes mentorship and boundaries become blueprints for freedom. So this is really cool. This is my secret compass. This is how I process knowledge, attain my own wisdom, transform my truth into a new truth. It requires a lot of integrity and responsibility. And I think in my past, when I was learning how to work with all of my energies, I would, go forward bravely, make a mistake, and become the example for the group. And now I experiment creatively and watch carefully others. And that allows me to integrate the wisdom without having to suffer those consequences. But that comes from, 50 years of learning and experimentation and becoming the person I am today. So very interesting. Thank you guys for hanging with me through that. I hope that you learned something through it. The key points of this teaching is that knowledge reveals how we perceive and interpret our reality. Wisdom reveals how we synthesize those perceptions into truth. The third house shows the questions we ask and the language we can use to learn. And the ninth house shows us the meaning we create and the faith we develop through experience. So yeah, for me, it is this combination of intuition and facts that come together for me so that I can create the knowledge, either learn by screwing up myself or watching other people's screw ups, and of course using the learning process as a creative outlet as well. So every thought and belief is part of the compass guiding the soul towards understanding. So thank you so much, you guys, for listening. The divine in me recognizes the divine in you, and I appreciate you watching and supporting this channel and my work. And I will see you in the next installment.